Hello, everybody, and welcome into this virtual edition of the Rundown. Myself, Blake Thomas, joining you here. No matter where he is on your screen, it's different from mine than it is to yours. But Blake, glad to have you on again. And we have two great guests with us here. We got the head coach of Reed City girls varsity basketball, Tim Beilfuss, one of the star players, Morgan Hammond. Thank you so much for joining us, guys, here in the extreme elements Mother Nature has thrown our way this week.
Hey, thanks for having us. Always fun. A little cold outside right now.
It's very cold.
Absolutely. I know right now things are getting hard to get in for practices, and that goes for all the local schools, right? A couple games canceled. We'll get into that as well. Friday night wins for you guys. Unfortunately, Blake and we unfortunately saw a loss, but we'll break that down as well. CSAA standings, games to watch this week, and the whole 9 yards of, well, as Reed City girls basketball in of itself. Big thanks goes out to Bezos Digital as well. Digital campaigns tailored to your needs, whether you need digital media, streaming, audio, video, no matter what it is, get your business out there with the experts of Bezos Digital, a proud sponsor of the Rundown. But with that, we'll get into a recap of the scores from last week, and obviously we can start with the Reed City girls getting the victory. You guys obviously able to take down Tri-County. I mean, that's a good win for you guys, especially moving forward. Talking to as well assistant coach Mark Holcomb, of course, just another guy to some people, but partner to myself. But just talk about that win, what it meant for you guys, and especially winning 2 games on the road in 1 week. I mean, that's hard to do in a good league.
Yeah, right now we're taking everything game by game, and we really look at every week. That's its own separate season. So it was nice to get 2 road wins. You get a conference win on Friday. We'll take that. And it's the first time that we've won 2 games in a row this season and 2 in a week. So we really took it. We've just dealt with some injuries and stuff. So it's happy to string 2 together, get Lakeview on the road on that Tuesday, where I think everything kind of jump-started how we were playing. We increased the defense, and then Friday we played well in spurts. Like to see the defense locked out a little bit more, but we're not going to complain about winning. So we're really happy that we came out with the W.
For sure. And Morgan, for the way that you guys have played, I know injuries have certainly really made the cards tougher. You know, obviously Coach Beilfuss, Coach Holcomb like to run you guys. You like to press, but sometimes only 6 or 7 bodies. It's hard to do. But just talk about the teamwork aspect, you guys sharing the ball, scoring the ball, and making a lot of defensive stops with you and your team.
I think definitely pushing the ball around and getting it up in transition, keeping the tempo up definitely helps. We're all in pretty good condition. We have to be with 5, 6 girls. So definitely pushing the ball, keeping it up, running the court. Defense, we lock down in our press. Our big thing is keeping the backside locked down.
For sure. And some other games as well, for some notable games. Obviously, Kent City, Morley, Stanwood. That was a game many people were looking at in the CSAA White, and especially Blake and I talked about it, 47-40 win for the Eagles. That's a big win there for Kent City, as well as Newaygo taking down Chippewa Hills. Probably something that was expected based on the record of those 2 teams. And Big Rapids and Grant was a really good ball game. And Blake, I'll pitch it over to you. Obviously, an 8-point win for Coach Heist's team, but they really earned it because Grant gave them anything and everything they could handle in their home gym. And Coach Heist's team, the Fricky sisters, obviously have been dominant. They stepped up to the task at Grant.
Yeah, it was kind of a tale of 2 halves. Big Rapids down by 1, 24-23 at halftime, and the Frickies both in a little bit of foul trouble early. And we talked about it on the show. It is a tough gym to play in. It's not one of the favorites for road teams to show up and play in. So they regrouped, had a really, really tough defensively, or were very tough defensively in the second half and locked down Grant and were able to pull away late in that game to stay undefeated in the CSAA White or Red.
Whichever one it is at this point. Gold, silver, white, red. Any color, just insert it. But speaking of the standings, right, CSAA Red, obviously, we'll start on the girls' side here. Big Rapids at the top, 5-0, 10-1 overall. Newaygo and Grant right behind. Reed City also in the mix as well, 2-3, 4-7. And then Tri-County and Chip Hills bringing it up the rear. But especially for you, Coach Beilfuss, I mean, you look at the overall record, right? 4-7 might seem daunting, but you guys have played good teams and you play them out of the gate, and that's the way that you schedule. When it comes to your philosophy of scheduling those games, what's the biggest thing for you that leads you to schedule those tough games right off the gate?
We're prepping for districts as much as anything. With us being on the border of being a Division III school or a Division II school, we're usually playing schools in a district like Big Rapids with 700 kids, when you had Cadillac in it and they're at 750, Ludington's at 600, and we're right around the 430, 440 mark, we'll go play bigger schools. So like next week, we have Petoskey coming into town. When we do our holiday tournament this year, it was about getting bigger schools. So we brought OK schools in Lowell and Thornapple here. We know it's going to be tough. And some of those games, you might know you're not going to win, but it's like, okay, you play a game within the game here. Let's win this 4-minute stretch. Let's win these quarters at this point. But everything's prepped for the end of the season for us, especially when we schedule these bigger schools. And that's just been the philosophy the last 3 years. It's just, we're going to push ourselves. It'd be nice to go, man, 20-2 and win all these out of conference schools playing D4 teams, and they have 70 kids. But are you ready to go into March and be ready to play? I think this just helps us. In our district this year, it's a gauntlet right now, and we didn't expect to be 4-7 right now, but the girls are working hard, and we only got one way to go, and that's up from here.
Absolutely. And Morgan, for you specifically, right, you and the player's perspective, how does it feel to know that you guys are going to be battle tested? You know, going into District 35 as one that's played in it, Blake is one that's coached it, and obviously you guys are in it right now. It's a dogfight. It really can be a toss-up when you're playing some of those big schools. But for your player perspective, I mean, how does it feel to play those teams and know going into the district, okay, we've been there before, we played these tough teams, and so it makes it maybe a little bit easier?
I think it's just a feeling of like being prepared. Like I know Coach Beilfuss and Mr. Hansen are going to put together a tough schedule to help us be prepared to go into districts like that, especially with such a tough district.
Absolutely. And we'll flip over to the white side for girls hoops as well. Kent City with the win over Morley Stanwood now have that one-game edge, 4-0. The Mohawks at 3-1. Mohawks will be playing Big Rapids this week. That's going to be a fun game to watch. Assuming that game gets played on Wednesday, obviously some cancellations and some delays may change that. Lakeview, Central, Montcalm, as well as White Cloud, all battling right there 3-5. Could be a coin flip, and some of those teams playing each other this week. And we'll flip over to the boys now here, Blake, especially. We'll recap that Friday game here first. Big Rapids, right from the jump, Grant got out to that early lead, and really they just held it. Big Rapids battled. They fought at the end of the first quarter, but at the end of the day, it was the off-ball passing for Grant and especially the defensive assignment. There was really not much Big Rapids could do offensively until the fourth quarter, and really from Grant, they just built that edge and were able to hold it out the rest of the way.
Yeah, they're up 4 at the end of the first quarter, 8 at the end of the second quarter, and came out into halftime and won that first 4 minutes right out of half, pushed their lead into double figures. It didn't really look back. They did a really, really nice job on Gabe Jenga, made him earn anything and everything he could get. And also, you know, their game plan was executed perfectly. You know, you could tell that there's some cohesion there. They've played really well together for the past few years. Lots of varsity experience. You know, kids of 3, maybe 4 years of varsity experience. You know, this is kind of that culmination. They're a legit ball club. Really fun to watch. They do the little things right. They move the ball. You know, guys are back cutting when someone turns their head for easy buckets. They ran their offense, you know, really well. And Big Rapids mixed up some looks, and they still struggled to defend them in spots. And, you know, we talked about the Grant scores points in bunches. You know, they score 17 against Hart in a 3-minute span to push that for going down 4 to, you know, up 12 pretty quickly. And it is that same thing we saw in the fourth quarter. Big Rapids kind of clawing back, was hovering at that 10-point range, and then a couple of timely triples push it out to about 16, and that was really it. The Cardinals battled a ruckus atmosphere. You know, now the game plan for the Cardinals is you win out in the league, hopefully, and you get a chance to try and split it, or maybe Grant stumbles along the way and you can still win it outright.
Absolutely. Everybody's going to be looking for that matchup later in February. But some other scores as well from around the league. Central Montcalm holding off White Cloud at home right now. The Hornets are the hot team when it comes to the CSAA right now in boys basketball. Tri-County just edging out Reed City. I know that you guys saw that game near the end of it, obviously down to the wire, and offense was on display. Defense was kind of a second thought when you see over 150 points combined. Jeez Louise. Kent City holding off Morley Stanwood defeating Kent City. Let me rephrase myself. Big upset for Morley Stanwood going into the Big Rapids game, so they're going to have momentum, as well as Marion holding off Lakeview. But right now, Morley Stanwood, obviously the team that we're going to be looking for as Cardinal fans, as they're the next one on the schedule. right now, that's a team that has shown the sparks, right? And Coach Thomas, you've talked about Coach Cummings and what she brings to the table for this team. But Morley Stanwood, they've beaten the high teams, right? The really good teams. They also lost to the really low teams. So it's playing to that level of competition. It really seems like for Morley Stanwood, that determines really how far their season can go.
Yeah, they've got a few guys that can score in different fashions. Griffin Babbitt, good player. Devin Garbo, another guy who's been on the varsity team for the duration of his high school career. Got a new coach, Alexis Cummings. A great basketball player in her right as well. Knows the game really well and has those guys, playing their best basketball moving forward. We looked at scores and it's tough to compare scores because matchups can be different. But you think Kent City's going to be the team that walks away with the white. Just by looking at the scores, they lose to Grant by 9. They've played tough teams. They played a bunch of big Division I schools. For Morley to go in to Kent City and win that game, it shows there's some grit. It shows that they're turning that program around from, struggling pretty handily last year to being, a complete and in first place, tied for first place in that CSAA white with all their goals still ahead of them.
Yeah, we certainly can't wait to see. And speaking of the games to watch here on Friday night, there's a couple that we'll obviously highlight here. But one of the ones, especially, I know, especially for Coyote fans, right, on the girls' side, is that trip to Newaygo. I mean, especially for you guys. We'll start with you, Coach. Looking at the Lions, right, a team that was battling with Big Rapids at the top. And really, it still is. Obviously, Big Rapids beating Newaygo really put them in that second spot. Now the chasing team in the red division. But what do you see on film from that team? And what are you hoping that your team can be able to do to counteract and come out on top on the road?
So the first time that we played them this year, I think we lost by 6 or so. It was one of those games we struggled to score, and we turned the ball over 32 times. We knew that they were going to have a very active zone. They've got a lot of length out there. And when you take 32 possessions away, it's hard to win a basketball game. But Newaygo is well coached. They're very deep. We like some things that we've seen on film that Big Rapids did to them, some other teams have given them some trouble with, and we'll roll into Friday with a game plan that's a little bit different than earlier in the year. And frankly, we played a lot of home games, don't mind hitting the road. And so it'll be nice to get away on a Friday and go compete and try to see if we can get back in this race for the top of the conference.
For sure. And Morgan, pitching this one to you, right? This without the Kent City game at home. Now, this will be the 4th straight road game for you and especially your teammates. How does that confidence, putting these games together on the road really propel you into a matchup like this where, like you said, you played Newaygo really close with a lot of those mistakes. So if you clean it up, you can obviously have a really good chance to win.
Yeah, I think we just really have to clean up our turnovers and, I don't know, keep them off the boards. I think being on the road is like fun for our team, kind of. It's better than playing at home, like 18 games in a row. It's a little different.
That's true, yeah. And it does feel better to beat a team at their place almost than it does at home, just with that atmosphere in mind as well. Some other notable games, Big Rapids will be hosting Chippewa Hills. That should be an interesting game there. That will be at 5:30. All the girls' games on varsity on Friday night will be at 5:30. Central Montcalm will be playing against Morley Stanwood. Maybe an interesting one to watch. We'll see if Morley Stanwood can bounce back from that loss to Kent City and kind of get back a little bit. Then you obviously have Kent City against Lakeview. Eagles going to be favored in that one, but we'll see if the Wildcats have something to spoil. And then Tri-County and Grant will be duking it out as well. And then on the boys' side as well, right, Blake, we are obviously going to have the Morley game, but then 2-day turnaround, obviously with Mother Nature, we're going to be hosting Chip Hills, a team that surprised us the first time down in their place, kept us pretty much to a really dead first half. And so you got to be thinking with them how their season's gone, really exceeding expectation. They're going to bring it on Friday night, regardless of what we do against Morley Stanwood.
Yeah, it's always tougher to beat a team the second time you play them, and they're doing a good job over there. Again, the first time that Big Rapids played over there, I think it was like a 5-point ball game at halftime, and it was kind of a slogfest. It was an ugly basketball game. I worked that one with JT Scarpelli, and there was no real flow to it. It was a lot of a reference to the math man Fox. The game was played in the midfield. Ball wasn't getting to the paint. Lots of shots, lots of turnovers. It was an ugly one, and look for maybe the same thing. If you can make Big Rapids find a way to struggle on the offensive end, you're going to have a chance. So they're on the up and up. They're playing better basketball as of late. They're right in that mix of 3rd or 4th place. And again, tough to beat a team 2 times.
It is tough to win 2 times. And then we obviously have Central Montgomery Stanwood. Should be an interesting game, right? That one will be very interesting. Both those teams, right around the 500 mark, but have spoiled hearts already this year. Tri-County and Grant going to be duking it out, see if the Tigers can keep their run going after sustaining their first loss recently. So we'll see if Grant can bounce back. And then Kent City win Lakeview, as well as we mentioned earlier, Newaygo against Reed City. And I know Coach Walsh especially, we'll have him on the show later on, but I know he would love to get a win at Newaygo on Friday night after hopefully Coach Beilfuss and Morgan both get a win. It would be nice to see the Reed City sweep. I know people will be mad at me because of my background, but you got to be the homer when you can. But we'll finish out here. Obviously, Coach, we'll start with you. For this group, obviously, I know you have expectations that this team can win championships, right? Whether it's conference, whether it's district. With this group and what you have, what do you think is the biggest asset for you and this coaching staff to really use with the players that you have, the game plan that you have, and what you want to move forward to make a district run and play the rest of the league as competitive as you can?
I think with the schedule that we have lined up and who we played in the experience over the last couple of years, all these kids have been with us from whether they were freshmen or sophomores. So we have a lot of experience. It's just we got to buckle down every game that we've got 7 losses, and you can point to literally one thing in each game that, okay, we struggled big time in this area, and it's been different. But there's about 3 things that we just need to lock in on. And if we get that cleaned up and the focus comes back in, and like Morgan said, we love having home games, but there's distractions with home games. There just are. But when you hit the road and you get on a bus, the distractions seem to go away and the kids are locked in a little bit more. So if we can keep the distractions away, stay healthy, got to do that. We're running with 7 varsity kids right now. We did lose one for the season. We lost Hayden for a couple weeks due to a concussion. So we were down to 6 varsity kids. So we did steal a couple JV kids 5th quarter and just trying to piece stuff together so we can keep healthy and we can string some wins together. And I think everything will come back to where it should be. But the kids know we're struggling to score, so they feel some pressure on themselves. And once that ball starts going through the hoop and we start making shots, we'll be right where we want to be. And here's the thing. We don't want to be playing our best ball right now. We want to be playing good ball. We don't want to be playing our best ball right now. Give me that in the end of February and beginning of March. So I'll take that then.
Absolutely. And Morgan, for you, obviously, good overall competition the rest of the way and a lot of games that you guys can win to propel that momentum. What is really where you guys are at right now to you as far as the field goes on the floor, and what are some of the things that you're looking to cherish over the last couple of weeks of the season and hopefully make a push into the postseason?
I'm really just hoping to get some wins. Right now we just got to piece some things back together and keep working as a team.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. Blake, thank you so much again. Big thanks to Dazos Digital, guys. That's another episode of The Rundown, and we appreciate all of you. Be sure to subscribe. Big Rapids Daily News, more coach player interviews from around the CSAA and coverage coming your way. But, guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having us.
All right, we will take care, guys. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.